everyone. Welcome to another episode. Another episode with Ozzy that is here
Hello.
with me. Hello, Ozzy. Thanks for being here.
Hello, is my microphone working?
Yeah. All good, all good. Yeah,
Oh, good. Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
So, another episode, another tunnel episode by Ozzy. This is episode number 5. Uh, I do have some changes to the stream. I mean, to my stream, I did make some changes. Let's say that. I will be trying everything that we code from now on real hardware. Not just, I mean, we will still use emulators. Don't get me wrong, because as coding without an emulator is a bit hard. But whatever we do, we'll also try it on real hardware. You can see behind me tonight we'll have our friend the A600, where we'll be showing what Ozzy did on it. As usual, we will do our usual thing and go to the where is it? Through my things. So, guys, at the bottom you can see the hardware. This is hardware I own. Okay, there isn't any hardware that I do not own there. Actually, I have more than that, which is Commodore, but they didn't fit basically. I could go around the screen, but yeah. For example, the Amiga 65 is missing. The Commodore 64C is missing. The Amiga chip question, Amiga 500 is there, 1000 is there, 4000 is missing. What else is missing that I have? I only need the 2000. So yeah. Anyway, you see that the machines. I mean, the 128D I have, it's here. You cannot see it, but it's here. I'm touching it right now. But yeah, those are my real hardware. The 64 Il Biscottone is behind me, and the other one is here. Anyway, so guys, as I said, I will be using them now because, as me and Ozzy say, we need to use our hardware because till they are alive. Once they die, it's useless. So we will be using them from now on and doing things on them for real, as we used to do in the old days. I can tell you I had some real fun doing some stuff on the Commodore 64 or on the Amiga, literally coding directly on them. It's really fun. I mean, I had forgotten how hard it was for certain things. Especially if on the Commodore 64 using the tape drive. Oh my god. I just was banging my head against it. But so I started using the disk drive at least, because the tape drive impossible. Anyway, guys, all I ask is that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember that under each video there is links to source code that is related to the episode, or the source code for those that are public, because not everything is public, is on the Mega, which you will have the link under the video, as I said. We have a Facebook page. I still do not have the web page. I still didn't finish it, even though that wasn't my plan for the end of the year. So yeah, I my yeah, too many things. But anyway, let's hope we'll finish it. Um, please join my Facebook group, Face 101 Facebook group, or Commodore Dev Facebook group. Both of them are um, um, managed by myself, let's say that, and I have other people that help me out. Um, uh, if you want to talk to me on Facebook, you can, but normally I take time. The right place for chatting with me is Discord. And to be honest, the community on Discord is quite cool. Most of them are coders or understand coding or have interest in coding. So it's the right place also to be. Because if I cannot answer, they can answer. So yeah, it's a good thing, I think. If you don't want Discord, you can also send me messages on Telegram. I can answer quickly on that one. But yeah, if you want to go that extra mile and support me, then you have Patreon or Coffee. Both of them are identical. I have to apologize. I haven't edited any videos. I did have, and I can probably show them. Um, I didn't add. I didn't make them available because I did add them. Let me try to see if I can show them because it's a shame that I didn't manage to add them, but um, yeah, work caused me some issues. Um, so let's see if I can show videos that I edit. Uh, need to show them on here, I think. And I need to make this one. Let's see what it will show. Yeah, this one. So you can see on I have added all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I have added for Patreon, but they are only available for Patreon these, but I haven't enabled them on Patreon. So yeah, apologies for that, but yeah, work did cause me some issues. So back to where we were. Um, I should be able to do them by the end of this month. Having those videos on Patreon. Okay, so besides that, guys, may I remind you that we have a game jam. Anyone that's interested in coding Tapper for the Commodore 64 or Amiga or any other retro machines, he is welcome or she is welcome. You can do it in BASIC or any extended BASIC or any other BASIC for any machine or in assembly if you want. You're more than welcome to, let's say, start doing something. As I said, it is all about doing something for so that learn basically. Um, let's say hello again to Ozzy, and let's pass. So let's start with Ozzy, and then we pass to the slides, guys. So yeah,
Yeah.
there he is.
Yeah. Unfortunately for our guest Salju 80, I won't talk about programming on the Commodore 64 just because I don't know, I think, nothing about it. So I apologize in advance. And even the topic of today, I think, which is hardly related to Commodore 64, because I'm talking about how we can do we can
Uh,
make some melodies
yeah,
on the
yeah,
Amiga.
but the Commodore 64 has also trackers. So what you're going to talk about is applies also to the Commodore 64, but obviously the software is different. However, the methods are the same.
So is there a way to play on the Commodore 64 some digitized instrument
That can
samples?
no. So the Commodore 64 doesn't support samples per se. Okay, in inverted commas, you can have some. You can make it play samples, but it takes a lot. So normally what they do is it's what is called chip tune. They you do a chip instrument basically. That's what they really do. And then this chip instrument you can play music, but the tracker functions with the same methods that you are used to for the Amiga. I mean, of course, they
Yeah,
are different. Okay, the commands are different, but yeah, in principle, it's the same.
yeah, it's the same. But I remember I read somewhere that playing, for example, a digitized voice
Ah,
on the
yeah, it's
Commodore
not.
64 is requires you some knowledge,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
have
It's not.
to
It's not. It's
do
not. It
some
doesn't.
tricky
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It doesn't come out of the box. No. So yes.
Yeah,
Um,
and
And
when I was a
so the
child, I
trackers do
was
not use, just to make you aware, Rosie, the trackers do not use samples for the 64. They use what are called instruments, which are made from set tunes. You know, like a synthesizer. You program it, you move the knobs, and it gives you a tone. And it's the same thing. While on the
okay.
Amiga, you don't play with those knobs, let's say that. You get the sample and then you play it at different frequency. So that's the difference. So it's more easy, no?
Yeah, the Amiga, of course, was the best of the best, and you can play 8-bit samples,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yes.
it's yeah, it was quite common to hear digitized voice. And I was saying that I remember when I was a child, the first time that I played Impossible Mission, and there is this fuzzy voice at the beginning. I
Yeah.
was astonished because I
Mm.
said, how this is possible. I think it was my first video game with such a feature, let's say. And so, yeah. And then came the Amiga, and all of this came a standard. So that's why I love the Amiga. One of the reasons why.
Sure, sure. Yes, I understand. No, I mean it's normal.
So, coming to us to the main topic of this this episode, you said it's tunnel episode number 5, I
Five.
think, but yeah, but it's hardly related to the tunnel, which the talk I'm going to do. It's just a more generic one.
Mm-hmm.
It's about size coding on the Amiga related to the audio.
Yeah, but
And
always with adding audio to your tunnel demo or effect. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
just a quick recap or summary for those who are not aware of what I'm doing. So I have this personal challenge in mind to go into the size coding world and blame Mr. Pellicus for this because he's doing this TIC 80 stuff. He can put a lot of stuff into just 256 bytes. And of course, I can't
hello,
emulate.
Carlo.
Ooh, Carlo came as promised. Welcome. So what I was saying was, yeah, there is this sentence in Italian which means chi va con lo zoppo impara a zoppicare, and I don't know how to translate this in English, but the thing is, I stayed with Pellicus too much time, and he was always with this. passion of size coding, so make things
Yes, I
very
know.
small in the sense of the final executable. So the final program that you write is fits in a very small, tiny size, and he usually programmed this type of stuff into in the TK80. Amiga is not well suitable for this type of work because for 1 million reasons it's quite complicated. But still, there is this category. Let's say, let's call this category, which is 4K intros, and the only rule here is just to stay below 4K. So your final executable, all the graphic assets, all the music, all the sounds, all the code must fit inside the executable. And of course, you are not allowed to connect to the internet to download stuff. And the demo should launch itself and all in 4K. So you can use as much RAM as you want, but the final executable must stay in these limits. So I started as a personal challenge just to see if it's possible. I did it in the past something. If you remember, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, I released a demo which was called the Bomb Triangles.
Oh
And
yeah.
my main goal was to stay below 32K. And of course, I failed because I didn't have much experience in this field. So now I'm doing something even more extreme, trying to do something in 4K. And of course, when it comes to sound, this is a real problem because, as you know, if you go to the internet or modarchive.org, for example, and you try to look for a piece of music, a nice piece of music, even if it's quite cheap, it will cost you a lot more than 4K of data. Usually, mod files are the really good ones are 200 kilobytes. There are smaller ones, 50 kilobytes, 40, maybe 30. But when you reach some, let's say, the bottom of the bottle, you have to find out something else. So this is the main topic of today, and this is what I'm going to talk about. I hope you will find it quite interesting.
Yeah.
I apologize. Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw Sarju what he said. Sarju, um, uh, do not worry, my friend. We remember we speak Italian, my friend. So if you do not understand, just ask and I will explain in Italian if needs be. So, sorry guys, I'm going to say this in Italian. Sarju, se non capisci l'inglese e vuoi capire quello che abbiamo detto, dimmi e ti spiegherò in italiano. Non c'è problema. Ehm, e capisco anche perché riesci a capire l'inglese mentre normalmente non riesci, perché noi parliamo tutti e due l'italiano, perciò usiamo parole normalmente che capisci anche. Ok, spero che ti aiuta questa cosa che ho detto. Ok, guys, hello Sorcy, welcome to the stream. Um, we are in episode 5 of the tunnel demo coding, but today we are more going to talk about adding music to the demo, to the tunnel demo. And remember, he has 4K limit. So in 4K, he needs the demo, the tunnel, and he needs the music. And this is the scope of today's tunnel. Sorry, today's stream.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, Darchila. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, Ozzy, but
No
I need to
problem.
say hello to the chat.
And I have to apologize because, yeah, okay, I'm speaking English at my best, but of course I'm not a native English speaker. I have a strong Italian accent from central Italy. I think will ease you a lot, because I don't speak like, for example, people from the UK or from the USA. I think it should be a lot more understandable if you are Italian native speaker.
Yeah.
So I would say we can start. Do you want to
Yes.
show the demo?
Oh,
And
yes. Well, I can show
so
the
we can
demo.
test your setup
Yeah,
streaming
yeah, yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
real
Okay.
hardware, right?
Yeah. So let's jump to the Amiga, the 600. You can see me touching it, and that's the screen. um, and this should be the demo. Actually, I need to turn up the music.
And maybe it works. I don't know.
Yeah, it will.
Because I get random problems with
Can you hear
this.
the music?
No, I don't, but
Oh
I
no,
can
I
continue.
think you cannot hear it, but I'm asking the chat. Can you hear the music in the chat? I am. Party. Yeah, Dockster. Okay, Dockster can hear it from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's not a very
Just
interesting
about. Yeah, yeah,
melody.
yeah. It's he did it. It's just a small tune. I mean, just to prove that there is some sound. It's not like a demo tune, okay? Like a full demo tune. This is just a test in a way. But it's running on real hardware, and you're hearing it from real hardware. Yes, Carlo, yes, it is a bit low. Unfortunately, I know why it is a bit low, but the important thing is that you can hear it. I have to fix something, but yes. So this is what Ozzy has been working on, and the aim is to fit music and the code in 4K. Okay, so that's why. By the way, I will not keep the music on all the time. Okay, so I will have to
Yeah, just turn it
just
off.
yeah. So guys, just to hear that there is something going on. Okay.
Yeah, which is not noise, just noise. Just want to say again which was my goal here. So the main goal, as you already understood, is this mod. This is a mod file which was playing, and the final size of this mod file, even if it's a very small and basic tune, the final size of the mod file is something around 1670 kilobytes, which of course, or just the music is way above the 4K threshold. Additionally, you have to put the code you need to give to the Amiga in order to process the mod file. So you need a replayer routine, which adds up to, I don't know, 20K. And then I wanted also to introduce some sort of, let's say, very, very basic synchronization with the mod, because the black square, if you notice, are, let's say, blinking, and the blink is synchronized with the mod file. So every time the drum bass instrument is played, we have this color cycling effect. So
One thing I wanted to mention. Sorry, Ozzy. You are watching the stream, and because I'm playing it from real hardware, and Ozzy is this. It's not 50 frames per second what he has, at least from what I can tell here. Um, you might be, I mean, on real stream, you from home, when you're watching it, it might be sometimes it misses a frame or so, because I can see in OBS that telling me there's a lag, basically in the frames. But apart from that, it is, I can assure you, on real hardware is fine. It's just that Twitch with OBS, because it's not normal frame rate, let's say 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second, then you can see some missing frames. But yeah.
Yeah, actually, yes. In the browser, the tunnel is not so smooth if compared to a real Amiga. The frame rate is 25 frame per second.
Mhm.
Per
and that's
second,
and
and
that's why
this
I'm
is
framing at a higher rate. I'm quite a lot higher, and because of that, it sometimes it misses. So yeah.
it's meant for PAL Amiga European machines. And the reason why I'm not hitting a full frame rate is just because I'm not using the blitter in order to render the tunnel on the screen. So I'm asking a lot of blood and tears to the Motorola's processor, which is not able to render in time all this stuff. So this is the problem. I did my best to try to optimize everything which is possible, and my code right now is very not human readable, is very ugly, but I did all these sort of tricks or this type of counterintuitive things just to hit 25 frames per second, which for me is
That's
what the
okay.
maximum you can achieve in this type of situation if you want to render the tunnel in real time. Of course, there are other techniques that let you uh, achieve the full frame rate even with a bigger resolution, but they relies on other technique. This is a planar tunnel. I'm not using chunky to planar. I'm not using copper chunky. I'm not using everything. I'm just moving bytes inside the bit planes, and this will can allow me to have some flexibility because, for example, if I want, I can ask the program to move faster, for example, to change the texture in real time. I can change the order of rotation. I can do, I think, pretty much everything because it's not pre-calculated data. It's just computed in real time. The only pre-calculated data are the transformation tables, so the uh, arctangent function, the sine function, which of course I talk about in the past episode a lot, maybe too much. This is the only data which is pre-calculated because there is no way on the Amiga in order to achieve decent speed using this type of function. But anyway, I don't want to go off topic. The thing is, when I was done with the rendering of the tunnel, the final executable size was something like 3.8 kilobytes. So this means I have less than 300 bytes left until I hit the limit. And I had to squeeze all this sound in very tiny portion of space. And I remember I started this project before Christmas. I started, yeah, it was before, I think,
Yeah.
23rd of
Yeah.
December, and
Yes.
it lasted about until the Epiphany, I think. So I wasted all my free time in just adding this very stupid tune to the tunnel and squeeze it in order to fit 4K. And this is actually why we have so many slides, because while I was doing this job, I was taking notes on my pad, and every time something seems to work, I wrote a page so I can show you my result. And so let's see.
Okay.
Okay, I
So
think now you can
yeah.
stop your Amiga.
No, no, I will leave it
Unfortunately,
there. Why not?
because I want to start with the
Yeah,
slides.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't worry. I can switch to the slides. Don't worry. There you go. I think there's
Okay, this is the first page, just the introduction. It's Amiga size coding with music, mod files. So what I'm doing here, the goal is to play a mod file. So you probably already know that a mod file is just what was used back in the days with the Amiga, because of course Amiga didn't have, let's say, the capabilities to play, at least at the beginning, high quality MP3 or WAV files or whatever. They usually had this software that were called trackers. There are a lot of types of trackers. The most known famous one was ProTracker. And I remember I had it back in the days, but I just use it. It's like a regular mod player. But actually, you can do much more with the ProTracker. You can compose your own music and do much more. So the goal was to take the output of this ProTracker program, which is a mod file, and shove it into my demo, and the final size must not exceed 4K. Yeah, as you already know, because I repeated too many times. So please go to page number 1. We can start with my journey, with my experience. I went through. So
just to Darchill, even if I set it to 50, I mean it is 60, but even if I set it to 50, you'll still see it. I mean, OBS will register it that it is not normal frame rate. So that's why, because it's not. If it was if it was 50, it's double. 25 is half of 50. So you will see it. It will say, okay, I'm lagging a frame each time. Anyway, so this is our first slide. And
yes, stop here. I want to talk about my failures, and this is my first failure. So I'm just telling you what I did because I want you to be aware of my problems. So if you try to take a similar approach, you probably will be prepared to know what's behind. So this was my first try, and this is software which lives in the browser, which is called the Bytebit Composer. And I found this very interesting piece of this program in a website called I think it's codesizing.org. And it was very fun because
I posted the link of it, and I can even show it if needs be.
Yeah, you can also click on the link and just play the music.
Yeah, and
just as demonstration.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me go to the browser first. Let's see, there it is. And you can click play. So let's see, play. Where is play? This is forward, pause. Where is play? On this? Down here.
It should be on the bottom.
Yeah. So this is all it does. It's just a tune, no?
Yeah.
That is looping.
Let's say it's a music player. That's a very particular one, and just to get you to the idea of size coding. This program is playing the code you find on the top upper left of the screen, which is T shifted T mod 32, and there is this very strange and hard to read expression. So
I made the screen bigger so you can read it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to
okay.
read all of just to show the main concept here is we have t, which is the time variable, and t is incremented every time by this Dolchan browser program that lives in a browser. And of course, when you execute this expression, the output will change according to t, so in relation to t. And this means if you put one values one after another, so you calculate t if the output of this expression, if t is equal 0, and this you put this 0, the value on memory. Then you do it again, but this time t is 1, and you evaluate this expression and you put in memory. And it goes on, and it goes on and on and on for, I think, endlessly.
It's a
And
loop.
the
It's
t,
looping, no?
yeah, it's not looping. It just goes forward. If you play the mod, you see there is a t box on the left, and the t is increased each time. It's not resetting. It's just going over and over again. Of course, this expression has a sort of, let's say, period. So the same stuff is repeated over and over again, but t is always incremented by 1.
Okay.
And the idea is, you probably already see where I'm going now. This
Yeah.
piece of code, even on the Amiga, takes, I don't know how many bytes. You have to translate it to assembler or in C, as you prefer. But you just feed your compiler or assembler with this formula. It will cost you just some bytes, and it will produce a sound. And this is perfect for size coding because, of course, you can't feed your compiler with all the data which is necessary, needed in order to describe the sound wave of the instrument. You have to find another way. And the other way is to try to express the same data with a formula using code. Assembler, C, doesn't matter. And this is essentially what Pellicus was saying to me last time. He told me, if you want to do size coding and you want to add music, you can't just put instruments inside because it will bloat the final executable a lot. You must find a way to, let's say, find some algorithm, some piece of code that represents your music. And this is a perfect example of what he was trying to say. So what I did, my first approach with the Amiga, it was I tried to play with this Dolchan program, and I tried to compose my own music. And I said, okay, I just write into chip RAM the output of this expression. So for example, I use a Debra, I make a cycle, and I cycle from 0 to, for example, 10,000 times. And for each value, I just store in chip RAM the output of this expression, and then I give to Pola, which is the audio chip of the Amiga, these values, and everything should work. And actually, it works. It's not a bad idea. The problem is just it's that I found other ways to do this, but this was the initial approach, and this is what I want you to understand, that you cannot import instruments. You have to generate with code almost everything. It's the main concept here. And this, let's say, framework, it's very useful because there is a drop-down menu on the left, and it will you can set this type of data that you get. So, for example, you know that Pola is requiring you to express each sample in 8-bit signed. And with this program, you can use various formats, and one of them is 8-bit signed samples, and it works fine. And you can also set the amount of the frequency. The default is 8,000 hertz, and you can also record what you are playing. On the right, there are a list of examples of music, and I saw that the community really went crazy creating his own music, and some piece of code are really fun and really hilarious to hear. So talking again about my failures, I didn't use this approach at the beginning because the problem is that here it's meant for a PC side of things.
I'm not
It's not to,
understanding why it is a failure. What I mean, this was a start more than a failure.
yeah, it was my start. So the history is the following. I tried to do, of course, I didn't want to rely on someone else's work. I
Mm-hmm.
tried to do my own music
Mm-hmm.
and my own instruments or my own sound. And of course, I don't know much about sound generation, synthesizers, and all of this stuff because, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's something completely new to me. But what I tried to do, I just used some function which is square root, sine wave, have, try to have something, a wave which was repeating periodically. And at the end, I got more or less the sound that I was looking for. The problem is when I try to translate the above on assembler, it was very painful because here T is represented with a float number, so it's not an integer. When you do calculation here, most of the time, maybe not in this example, but most of the time you have to deal with decimal number and you have to be quite accurate if you want to reproduce the same data on the Amiga. So I started translating my instruments to the assembler, and I was seeing that it was, let's say, doable, but it was quite hard to maintain and quite hard. First of all, it's quite hard for me to get the desired sound because I don't have knowledge on how to generate all these sounds. And two, the porting to the Amiga was not simple because you have to translate this expression in assembler, and it will take me a lot. Even if this one is quite simple, but if you, for example, you try some other one that, for example, has square roots inside, things are going very crazy very quickly. Yeah, but I'm not saying that is a bad idea. I'm just saying that I found something better,
Mm-hmm.
and this is still something fun. Is if you use a PC or something, let's say, modern. For the Amiga, there are better ways. And so please go to slide number 2, and
Yeah.
I want to show what I
What?
found.
Okay. So slide number 2. There you go. This one I know about.
Slide. Okay, this is really something awesome, but very, very awesome. I, when I already knew that there was around this program. Uh, Also, I remember Pellicus quoted this in the past, but I wasn't really aware of what it's meant for, how to use it, and in which places or scenarios or use cases it will be helpful. And now, of course, I'm not fully aware, indeed, but uh, yeah, I I remember that Pellicus quoted this program, and I wanted to give it a try. And this program is called Amiga Klang, and it's, let's say,
I'm posting the
available
chat. I'm
freely.
posting the link in the chat. I know
Yeah,
about this program, so this is not new for me. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And for what I understand, this is like an Amiga adaptation of the another program, which is called 4K Lang.
Oh yes.
And I don't remember which are the authors of 4K Lang. I think Alcatraz.
Alcatraz. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alcatraz. Yeah.
Alcatraz. So there are plenty of tutorial on YouTube about this 4K Lang. But if you follow that, if you follow this tutorial, you get the idea what what is the problem they are trying to solve. So this is something. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong. These are a very particular type of software synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say synthesizer, please correct me if I'm wrong. For me, it's just a big black box machine. You feed with some input, and this machine outputs some sounds. And this is the main objective here.
Yeah.
At least I think you give some random values and it spits out something, a wave, a sound
Yes.
wave.
Yes.
That's what they are doing.
Which is the instrument in a way, no?
Which is, yes, you can use it
So
as an
this is
instrument.
same principle as I was telling you as how the Commodore 64 works in a way. Okay, so it's the same principle.
Yes, but keep in mind this is not a tracker.
I
It's
know, no. This is how instruments are created in the Commodore 64. So same principle. But yeah. Of course, this is not a tracker.
Yeah. And so, yes, they come up with this Amiga Klang, and this is unfortunately it's Windows only. And for me, it was a big problem. I have to spin up a virtual machine in order just to run this software.
I can imagine you.
Yeah, I need 10 gigs of hard drive in order to install Windows 10, and then 1 megabyte of this program. That's how it
Can you
works.
imagine what you guys do not know is that Ozzy is only Linux, okay? He doesn't use Windows and he doesn't like using Windows. And also he doesn't have powerful machines enough to run Windows properly. So you can imagine Linux running Windows on his machine, how it felt.
Actually, I use Linux and Amiga OS.
Oh
That's
yeah.
my main two drivers. I also have a MorphOS machine, but I don't use it quite often.
That chill.
Uh,
I use Linux too. I'm not saying anything about Linux, but knowing Ozzy, he's only Linux, and he doesn't like to have, or he doesn't want to have powerful machines. He just because he says Linux is okay, it will work. So then you can imagine having Linux and installing Windows on top of Linux.
Sorry if I interrupt you. I'm just going out of topic for
Yeah,
1 minute.
yeah,
I tried to install Windows 10 on my VM, and
yeah.
I said, "Come on, what can go wrong? This installation progress should be something like to Ubuntu or Debian, something like that. You have this wizard." So I inserted the virtual ISO image into my hypervisor, and I saw that Windows was installing. Everything was fine. At a certain point, it told me, "Please enter your username and password." And I say, what? It's just a fresh new installation. You can't ask me that. Because in Linux, we have this concept of the root user, and you have to provide
Yeah, but it's
initially the
the
password.
first
But
time. Yeah.
it was asking me something else. It was asking me my credential for a live.com account or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I said, "Are you completely crazy? So you want me to register to live.com in order to install your OS? This is insane for me." But yes, I complied. I went to live.com. I just entered some random
I can
stuff,
imagine you.
uh, and I entered the password. And what happened? It was a big pop-up. It was asking me if I'm willing to buy Office
Yeah, that
360 or
after. Yeah,
something
that's
like
what it
that.
does. Yes.
Come on, this is hardware. This is a virus. It's not an OS. It's a virus. It's trying to
No,
sell
no,
me
it's the OS is. I mean, you can skip that part to be honest, but yeah, if you do not know,
I skipped that and I started doing my stuff.
yeah,
So I wanted to download this program, but there is Edge browser, and I said I want Chrome. So install Chrome, okay. And then while I was installing Chrome, it was just nagging me with this alert. Oh, you're at risk. Your computer is not secure. Come on, it's a virtual machine. It's isolated in a virtual private network. What more do you want to? So it took me a whole day in order just to close all the pop-ups, and I wonder how this is possible that all the human beings are using this crap OS. For me, it's impossible to understand. When I install Linux, I just say, this is my root user, and I want to install these packages, and in a matter of minutes, you're ready to go.
there you
If you
go,
want,
guys. You're listening to a Linux user complaining about Windows. So I
if you
use
want
both and I
Chrome
do not complain.
IAPT, install. Yeah. But anyway, this Amiga Klang requires Windows. Maybe it works with Wine, which is some sort of, let's say, emulator of
Hmm.
Windows. But yeah, I took the safe way, so I want to go with a VM with the proper Windows installation. And of course, I have to set up my RDP, the remote desktop, because it wasn't out of the box available on Windows. But yeah, so I was greeted with this nice little window. And by the way, in this screenshot, you see this green window, and I think this screenshot is not updated. It probably is outdated because my Amiga Klang is slightly different. The disposition of the input areas is different. Also, the background is different. But anyway, it's the same software and it works. Sometimes it crashed to me, but you can just reopen and everything works fine. Probably it's Windows fault, yes. So there are some similarities between 4K Lang and Amiga K Lang. So you just defined a list of, let's say, entries, actions, and then on the bottom you see that there is this wave which represents, just a graphical representation of what you get with these input values. Please turn the page. I don't remember what I put on the following page.
Hmm.
Okay, this is what you get when you start Amiga Klang, and you have to learn a little bit of terminology here, because you have really to read the README file, which is included in the zip file of Amiga Klang. Otherwise, things are a little bit confused. They have this concept of a patch, and the patch is just a whole group of instruments. They call it a patch. I don't know why a patch. For me, in Italian, it's toppa, but yes. And you see in the top left corner there is this drop down area where is drum bass, which is an instrument, and you can expand it and you can select up, I think, 15 or 31 instruments, I don't know. But the point is, each patch has from 1 to 15 or 31 instruments, I don't remember. And each time you change instrument, what you see on the variable function window changes accordingly. And on the right, there is the sample length. And this is, of course, let's say a global value, and you have just to define the size of the final sample that you want. And just a little bit of terminology, because they call sample what I call instrument. And because I have a different terminology. For me, a sample is just a single byte, a single value inside this wave instrument. The whole group of samples makes an instrument for me. But they call sample what I call the instrument.
They're following the Amiga convention. That's a sample.
Yeah, but for me it's confusing. For me, a sample is, with Italian, is campione.
Yeah,
and this is just a single value inside the wave. That's for me a sample. But they refer as a sample, or in the Amiga world, a sample is just the whole audio data.
Actually, in English, it's like that. It's not one byte. It's a whole series of data sample.
Yeah, probably it's just a problem of language. But yeah, just keep in mind, when I say sample, usually I mean a single value, because that's my convention. And when I say instrument, is the group of the samples that makes up the instrument. But anyway, we have the sample length, and you can set it with the slider, or you can enter it manually in decimal or hexadecimal form. It's up to you. And then on the left, there is this variable function windows, and this is the main part where you have to put the input for the wave. There are a lot of different functions, and on the left there is a variable column, and for what I understand, they gives you 4 variables: v1, v2, v3, and v4. And the final output is what you represent into variable v1. So, for example, on the first row, you see v1 is equal to a triangle, so an oscillator triangle. So variable v1 just holds the value of this triangle. Then I define another variable, which is called v2. You can't name it as you want. You have to follow their conventions. They just give you 4 different variables, and you have to stick with that. So the second variable is assigned to an oscillator sine wave. And then on the third line, I say, please take what's inside the variable 1 and what's inside the variable 2 and put it in variable 1. So we are just adding 2 different sounds, the sine sound and the triangle sound, into one, let's say, more complex sound. And you get something, for example. Then I set what is called a decay envelope to another variable, which is variable 3, and then I use the function multiply. So the final output is what the combination of the triangle and the sine multiplied by the decay envelope. And there are a lot of different functions inside Amiga Klang, and there are mainly oscillators, math operators, and envelopes, but there are many more. So it's a really word to learn. And as I said, on the bottom, there is a visual representation of the instrument. You can set the frequency. So every time that you click on the radio button next to the V1, V2 list box, what you find inside the triangle oscillator in this case changes according to which is the type of function you selected. So for example, here you can set the frequency of the triangle wave. You can set a higher pitch or lower pitch, and you can set the gain, which in my mind it's something like the volume of the triangle. And you can also import samples from already something that you already did, and you can manipulate an existing sample / instrument with your triangle sine wave or envelopes or whatsoever. So it's quite powerful, but also quite complex. One thing that I want to add here before going to the next slide is that when I saw this Amiga Keylang for the first time, I was quite disorientated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It happened to me too. I
Because
agree.
yeah, because I didn't know anything about synthesis, what is a synthesizer, what is sound generation.
No, I
So
think even if you know, the interface to it is not so clear. Let's say that. That's what.
I think they just use the same concept of 4K lang, and this is why it's done like that.
But
So
yes, agree.
yeah, but the point is, you have before using this program, probably you must have, let's say, at least the basic notions of this topic. And I remember that, again, I'm going off topic. Please apologize. I apologize in advance for this. But there is a popular Amiga line magazine which is called What If, What
Yes,
IFF.
yes,
And I remember I read an article about this topic in the past issues of this magazine, and there was a suggestion by one of the writers, and he was essentially saying, if you want to know about how synthesizers work, please buy this book. And this is what I did.
you
I
bought the
don't know
book.
if you can
Just lower it
see.
down, lower it down, lower a bit down. Yeah, how synthesizers are. Interesting.
It's a simple guide. So this is a very basic book. And of course,
Interesting.
it's not about Amiga Keylang, of course, but it just gives you the insights, the main concept. It just tells you, for example, what is an oscillator, what is an envelope, what is an LFO, low frequency. I don't just remember the name. What is I don't know, a filter, what is a low pass filter, so what is a wavetable, a sampler. So it just gives you the main concept in order to survive in this very complicated world of sound generation, especially if you are a beginner like me, because before December I didn't even know what what was about all this stuff. I remember that when I finished the Ramjam book, all I know is that there is a mod player routine that I can use. So I was just browsing mod archive, take one mod that I like, ask the author the permission to use, then use the mod routine which comes with the book, and you have something, and everything is fine. Of course, as I said, this is not the right approach if you are doing size coding, because especially if you are doing 4K size coding. So you have to go a little bit further and investigate a little bit more. But it's very rewarding because at the end you start to understand how what is really a sound, how Amiga generates the sound, how a synthesizer can generate a sound. So it's at least for me, it's quite fun, and of course, it's part of your culture. So maybe it's something that you can reuse in different areas of your life, not only on Amiga or science coding. That's the point. So yeah, probably you already know this program, this Amiga Klang. You already know everything about synthesizer. So please, and sorry if I'm stating the obvious as usual. Okay, so let me take a sip of water, and in the meantime, you can turn the page because I don't know why I'm very thirsty tonight.
So yeah, I knew about them. There is also 4K Lang and 64K Lang. I don't know if you knew about them or I know
About what?
there is 4K Lang as you said, but there is 64K Lang.
Yeah, probably it's derivative work. They just took the same concept and they adapted to the Commodore 64. I didn't know that it was something similar on the 64 world actually.
I'm not sure actually. I found it while I was looking to find the link for you. So I didn't know about it to be honest, and I think the 64K Lang is still for the Amiga, but maybe it's done for it gives you more stuff. I'm seeing. Let me share this screen so that you because I didn't know about this one. I know about the others, but not this one.
But did you ever use it?
The Amiga Kling, yes, but I'm not good at it. So I
Me
was
too.
like you, petrified when I saw it.
Yeah,
So
but
let me show you
my
what I found.
advice is when you don't
I
know
didn't know
something,
about this one. I have no idea. It just appeared while I was looking for your link. So as I said, 64K length. Also by Alcatraz.
same authors.
Yeah, probably from what I can tell.
As Proton stated in the chat, I think that Amiga Klang it comes from Virgil, which is a very famous singer. But probably he got help from someone. At the end, I wrote something in the credits, so we will see.
Anyway, that's
64K Lang. This is something that really I never seen that.
yeah. I even myself I didn't know. I just release
It's a
date
Windows
to
demo tool.
release date. Look, is April 2018, so it's quite recent, and it has this interface which is like GUI interface to write the music or something like that. I don't know.
I just feel the headache when I see this type of interfaces. It's not intuitive.
So
I
so yeah.
like command line interfaces.
Mm. Anyway, let's go back to your slide. This is your slide on Kling.
Okay,
I mean,
so
Kling, sorry.
this is when the exact moment that I saw that I said to myself, I want to learn this tool. When I saw for the first time this menu, and which is something really really cool. So I did my instrument. It's just the instrument. It was just trial and error. So I just put random values because I don't know anything about this. But at least let's say I got to the point that I had a sound.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I said now what? And I clicked on save because I wanted to save my work, and I saw this very long list of type of saving. So I saw save instrument. Okay. And then I said, I saw save patch, which just saves the whole set of instruments. If you just want to save your complete set of instruments instead of just one, and they say, okay, save sample. And this is cool because it just gives you a raw file ready in the Amiga format. So it means you can feed Paula with this file, and Paula will just play the sound that you created. And I said, cool, I like it. But the better is after. You can export the Amiga assembler source. And this is like real porn for me. Because if you give me, you are generating automatically the assembler code that I can include on my program in order to generate this type of sound. This means I solved all my problems, at least most of them, because I can stay inside very few bytes, because usually when you compress machine code, it's something that is easy to compress because it's very redundant. So when you feed the shrinkler with this assembler code, it will do a very good job. Instead, if you feed shrinkler, which is the compressor, with the sample that we saw on the third row, and it won't do a very good job because it's too noisy. It's just a bunch of numbers and random values according from the shrinkler point of view. So it means if you click export as ASM source, you get a .asm file, and this file is something that WASM is able to understand perfectly. And by the way, this is exactly the same tool that I'm using. And so this is, let's say, the most beautiful feature that I found into Amiga Klang, because yeah, it's perfect for size coding. And so just reading the slide, we have save patch, I already said that, save instrument, and the save sample. So what you can just define a list of instruments. So you can create your patch. For example, you create your drum, you create your piano sound, your flute, your tambourine, so whatsoever, and you get this code, which I don't know, the final size after compression, it will be a few hundred of bytes, so it's very tiny. And you can include in your project, and it also gives you a routine in order to, let's say, create the full sine wave, so the full instrument wave, somewhere on chip RAM, and you can use it, which is very cool. Yes, let's see what I did on the following slide, because I don't remember anything. It was a long time ago. But yeah, important thing, you get the point. So there you go. You must get why I love this program and why it's so powerful for size coding especially. This is something that I discovered later, because I said, come on, I have to do all the heavy lifting on my own. Maybe there is something already done that I can copy. Because I was trying so hard to have my sound, the sound that I had in mind, and I wasn't able to achieve what I had in mind. I was just going trial and error. And then I saw into Windows, of course, this particular directory which is called the patches, and it comes with the whole zip file of Amiga 4K Amiga Klang, and you see that we have this bunch of AKP files. These AKP files are just patches, and they are just a set of instruments already made. I think it's Virgil who did that, or at least in collaboration with someone. But
I think most of them is him because you can see his name at the beginning, but I think others are not.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I think he is the author. But the point is, using Amiga Klang, you can load, for example, one of these AKP files, and then you start browsing all the instruments that are inside until you find something that you like or you are looking for something like that. And you can just change a few parameters, for example, in order to adjust it to your feelings or to your taste. And you can resave your own instrument, which derives from something that was already done by Virgil or his companions. Just one thing to point. Not all of these instruments are good for size coding because there are some that just take another sample, so something noisy, maybe digital recorded, and they just add something. For example, they add an envelope or they add some sort of algorithm in order to change the initial sample, the initial instrument. So what I did here, I just filtered a lot because I just wanted instruments that are described only by mathematical function or envelope function. So something which is only representable using code without importing extra stuff from what they call external samples, because otherwise my final executable will bloat a lot and I can't afford this. Still, it's a very good solution if you are aiming for 64K intro, for example. And if you look at the name of the files, for example, we have Columbia.akp, and I suppose this is the music or at least the instruments that were used for the Columbia demo. I think it was shown released at a revision party of last year. I don't remember exactly when, but it's a great demo. So as usual, I say
I do have a
learn from the
question.
best.
I do have a question for you. Is there an AKP Ripper?
What you mean with the Reaper?
I mean, if you have a demo that is using these kind of things, can you rip them off
I
from the demo?
really doubt, because when you do size coding, you just put some bytes, and it's impossible to reconstruct the whole APK. I think, at least. Maybe they included the whole APK inside their production. I doubt.
No, because it gives you the output. It gives you a routine. No, it gives you a to play the music. So is it possible to rip that off?
You can do the opposite. Yes, but I wouldn't see the benefit because they are
I'm just asking.
publishing their work. So I
The,
don't know.
I'm just asking. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't think that there is reverse engineering tool in order to get an AKP file from an executable.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a question for Virgil, not for me, of course.
Yeah, I'm just curious. You know, like what they did for the mod files. They might have done
Yeah,
it for
but
this one.
yeah, the point is, if you browse with inside here, there are really good sounds, because even making a sound, it's not so trivial, at least for me, because I'm a beginner. On my demo, on my tunnel, if you remember, there was an instrument on the background. It was a drum bass, something like tum tum tum, and this one it was made by me,
Mm-hmm.
but just going trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And the main melody, the main tune, it was something like a piano, something like that. And this was exactly something that I found inside one of these AKP file. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember which one. I just hope that no one will sue me for this this instrument. But yes, because I later discovered that they make all their work available. So why don't use it? It
Sure.
feels stupid to me. Actually, what I would like to have in the future is a community that shares his own APK files. It will be very cool. So it's a collaborative effort in order to have even more sounds and instruments.
Sure.
I don't know.
Proton has asked you a question. Um, the question is, have you tried to render samples in real time to make a real software synth?
No, I didn't try it. Actually, I'm in a demo. I don't think this is something useful. At least uh, I still just remember my tunnel is going 25 frame per second. I don't want to add something else in this loop because otherwise the frame rate will drop again.
Sure.
And so yeah, I didn't try it. In theory, it's possible, but what I saw is that when my demo starts, there is a long time of pre-calculation, and this long time was due also for the sample, so the instrument calculation. So it's not something that which is very fast. It takes a long time in order to render all the instrument wave. At least we are talking about 3 or 4 seconds. I think it's just my estimate, more or less, on my stock Amiga. So uh, it's a quite heavy process. So just remember, it also depends how is the sample length that you set on Amiga KLAN. Because if you want a very long, if you want a very long sample, for example, I don't know, 10K, yeah, it will take a lot of time. So in order to render the whole wave, I don't know. Another approach will be just to render the portion that you get between each frame and just to compute from one frame to the next, try to render this part. But we are going into very complicated territory. I'm not going there really. It seems quite complicated. I know that someone is doing that. For example, if you want to do mixing, if you want to use one channel and you want to mix two different samples, there are some techniques that says, okay, I know that I'm going to play in the next frame this data from sample one and this from sample two, and then just for each sample, so for each byte, they just do the average. In this case, you can mix, but it's quite intensive for the processor. I don't think that this is something I want to do. It adds a lot of complexity. So, of course, if someone has some example here, I will be more than happy to experiment. But yeah, I'm not prepared to go into this territory. I don't know if I answered the question. I did my best.
Shall we go to the next slide?
Yes, please.
Okay, so in the meantime, I give a shout out to Proton. So, let's change. There you go. You are in, just before we continue, you are in slide number 7. You have 16, and I do not know whether you
What
want.
time is it? It's uh, a quarter to 11.
Yeah, something like that.
Uh, I don't know when did we start at?
No,
It
9 now.
was 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Come on. So
So,
it's
no. I'm just making you aware because before we started the stream, you said you might want to divide it. So I'm making you aware where we are. Yeah.
yeah. I think it is better, let's say, to split this subject in half, and we can continue.
Okay. So
Uh,
where do you want to split it?
I will just go with this slide, and then we can just say goodbye and
Okay.
continue next time
So
if
you want
it's
to
okay
do
for you.
you want to do all the slides related to Pro Tracker too, or not?
Yeah, and the protractor, and show me the next slide because I don't remember which is the topic. I don't want to cut topic into
Yeah,
because
exactly. So then there is instruments related to mod files,
and then
and then Lightspeed player. So I guess
okay, let's say that we just go for this light and the next one,
yeah,
and
okay.
I will talk about the light speed player
Next
the
week.
next Tuesday, I think,
Yes, yes, yes.
if you are available, of course. Um, yeah, I will. Uh, okay, I have some lag. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. You're fine.
Uh, yes, my Twitch just freezed for a couple of seconds. So sorry. Um, PT2 clone. Why I'm introducing this? I'm introducing this because um, what I did with Amiga KLM, it was I wasn't generating code after all. I didn't use the awesome feature, at least at the beginning. What I did is I saved the instrument as raw. And I remember that the player that I was not. Let me remember. I remember that in the instruction in the README file, if I'm not wrong, of Amiga Keylang, they suggest you to use this sample with PT2 clone. I think I'm not sure if it was Lightspeed Player or whatever. My let's say tool chain was take these rendered instruments from Amiga Keylang and just try to use it in some way. A more classical approach would be copy into your real Amiga, start the ProTracker, load the modules in ProTracker, and start playing. But there is another way. If you don't want to sit at your Amiga, there is this PT2 clone project, which is very cool. And I also picked this because there is an excellent series of tutorials on YouTube that explains how to use this program. And this is essentially just a clone of ProTracker, but it works on Windows, Mac, and also Linux. So this time I didn't have to use my VM. And it works exactly like ProTracker. And what I did, I just loaded the sample here. So there is this disk operation button. You click there, and then you click load sample, and it will just take the sample that you generated, and then you start putting the notes. And the idea is when you have the mod file at the end, you just let's say cut the instruments data off and you replace with your code that was generated with the
Sorry.
Klang. This is what I did. My approach was the following. because for me it makes sense. What in the mod file, what really matters. So what is bloating the mod file is the instrument data. It's not the score. Or for example, here we have the C note. So we call it in Italian do re mi, and of course this is data, but it's highly compressible, and it doesn't waste too much space. So what I did here, I just took this program, I composed a little melody, and the melody, it's not mine, it's what it was used in the tutorial series on YouTube in order to teach how to use a tracker, because I didn't have I have never touched a tracker before Christmas, so shame on me, except for replaying mod files, of course, as I said before. So I did a pattern. So you have this, you probably already know how it works, this stuff. They just gives you these sheets of music, and they are divided into 64 parts, and you can put notes here, for example, C, and then you can specify which sample to play, and then the last bytes are reserved for actions. So you can set the volume, you can set some cool feature in order to change how the instrument sound is played.
While I'm putting the link of ProTracker 2 clone for Windows and Linux, I assume.
Yeah.
There is also ProtonFig told you when you do a chiptune on Amiga, suitable sizes of samples for Paola are 16, 32, 64, or 128 bytes. So it's info for you.
Yeah. Let's say I wanted to do something different. It's a little bit heavier. My samples are very big. I think they are 8 kilobytes each.
Really?
But they are cool. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but as I said, they are generated by a program. So they are in RAM, their size, once they are generated, the RAM size that it's required to store them is 8 kilobyte, and this is something that the Amiga can handle, because my Amiga has 1 meg of chip RAM. But in the executable, it's just a few bytes. So that's the.
You're talking about approach. Your A500 Plus that has got 1.
I'm using a A600. You know that.
A600 is 2 megabyte chip RAM now.
No, it's just 1.
I thought it was.
I have just 1. The 600, at least what my dad bought me, had only 1 chip.
For some reason, I thought it had 2, but yeah, okay.
I think you are confusing with the 1200.
No, 1200 is definitely 2. I thought 600 had 2 also, but
you can expand it. You can expand it.
I know that the 500 has got 1 megabyte chip RAM, but yeah, I think you're right. I'm just confusing.
The 500
no, not the 500. The 500 Plus, yes, has got 1 megabyte chip.
Yeah, I think that it's the almost same exact machine.
Yeah. Yes. I'm just.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I composed the mod file. The final output is 18,650 bytes. That's what I want to store into my executable. Please turn the page, and I will just show my statistics.
In the meantime, Proton told you mod files have instruments data which contain lengths, loops, etc. Then are the patterns data and the samples. So yeah,
exactly.
Only samples needs to be in chip RAM. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point of this slide, because he anticipated what I was.
Yeah, and then he told Mokalen can generate samples directly to the chip RAM, and they will be omitted in mod file data.
exactly. This is my approach.
Uh-huh.
This is my approach. So when I created the mod file, as I told you, it was too big,
Mm-hmm.
and there is this resource on the internet. So it's lclevy.free.fr, which describes quite well, according to me, how a mod file works in the sense which is
Yeah.
the format. For my understanding is that the mod file, it was a standard back in the days, just because there was this protracker which was very popular program that was using it, but there are no, for example, RFC or official documents somewhere that states how a mod file must be done. So what I found, this website, there is a text file mod.txt, and it just explains me how it's constructed. And what I realized is that at the end of the file, of the mod file, you have all the digitized audio, so your instruments. And at the beginning of the file, of course, you have your usual data. So, for example, the header, the artist name, and then it starts with the sample length, the sample name and the sample length, so instrument name and length. And I noticed that the sample length is stored at byte, I think 42. And this command, this is a Linux command, a Linux program. I don't know if Windows has something similar, but anyway, this OD program, it just prints what's inside a file at a particular position. And here I'm asking to OD, please tell me which is the size of my mod file, which I called ozzyvirgil2.mod. And he printed me this number, which is 4,175. And this is the size of my first instrument that I saved, that I generated before with Amiga Klang. Then I asked, please go jump to byte 72, and of course read the following two bytes and treat it with the big endian. And it told me this number, which is 4,096. So the final size of my instrument is 8,271. But you have to take into account that inside mod files, the size are always expressed in words. So you have to, if you want to know the real size in bytes, you have to double it. And you come with this crazy number, which is 16,000. So all of this just to say the whole mod file is 18,000. And I'm reserving 16,500 bytes just for the digitized instruments. And this is too much, of course, because you quickly realize what Proton Fig was saying. If you can generate all these 16,000 bytes programmatically, you end up with a huge saving in terms of executable size. That's my point. And so this is where my journey started. I realized that this is possible. This is how I could fit all this music in 4K. And I was quite lucky that it worked, even if my tunnel is giving hard time to some systems. And still I'm debugging. I don't know why it doesn't work in particular situation or random situation. I'm trying to reproduce, but with my real hardware, it's working all the time. So I have to download the WinUI and see what happens. But yes, let's say I would stop here because otherwise I think we will go too far into the night. So I will continue. If you agree, we can continue next
Yeah,
week.
yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah.
This
So
is slide number
we are in
8.
slide number 8, exactly in the middle of it. So you have 16,
Yeah.
so number 8. We did number 8. So
Well,
yeah.
okay. I will propose let's just take a break and continue next week.
Okay.
And just a preview next week, I will just show you what I did in order to play my mod file with this Lightspeed player, which is the player that I picked out of big plethora of candidates.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yeah. So thank you, Ozzy. Guys,
Welcome.
as Ozzy said, we are at the end of the stream. I can remind you of this, if you don't mind. So basically, the game jam of Tepper. If you're interested, you're more than welcome to participate and do a game like Tepper or similar to Tepper or a derivative from Tepper, whatever. Yeah, it's just use whatever language you want as long as you start and you do some type of coding. It should it's a way of learning. On the let me share the gem actually because I don't think I did it. In the gem you'll find links to the Facebook group also, Retro Programmers Inside. You can chat there related to the gem. This time I'm not participating myself to this gem. I have too much going on. But yeah, normally I do, and to be honest, it kills me that I'm not doing. I'm not. So yeah, it's one of those things. You cannot do everything. Let's say that. So guys, thank you very much. Stay with me for the raid, and all of you guys that were listening, Darchill, Carlo, ProtonFig, Coder16, thank you all for being here. Thank you guys. Have a good night and see you. Bye bye.